I
It's
didn't mean
okay.
to.
No,
You're live. You're live.
I'm not live. On everything squared away, and sometimes mishaps happen. But I mean, as we watched our Astros, we've seen them stumble into starts in games and see them come out smell like roses. So we're going to try to hit the ball out of the park like Yordan Alvarez in Game 1 of the ALDS in a walk off. And Suzy's here to make that happen from the Bourbon and Baseball Podcast. I'm Htown Wheelhouse, your Locked On Astros co-host. Eric is not here. He is on one more day on the IL. I put him on, but again, he is a part of the World Series roster, so he is here. He's going to hang out with us. And today's episode is brought to you by yours truly, Locked On Astros. So let's get started with this edition, a World Series edition, previewing the offenses for Locked On Astros. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we're your daily Astros podcast. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Htown Wheelhouse. You can find the show at Locked On Astros. You can find me also at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. Our co-host, Eric Huysman. You can find him at Eric Talk Stros on Twitter. And I've got a special guest with me tonight, a surging podcast star with Houston Astros baseball. They recently reached into the top 200 on the Apple charts. Congratulations, Suzy. Thank you for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find you and your co-host on the Twitter sphere.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate you asking me to join you. It's super awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Bourbon in the letter N, B-ball. You can find my co-host Shelby Miller at _Shell Miller. And we also have all of the other socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but we are most active on Twitter. So
awesome. Thank you so much. And this is an exciting time. I mean, Astros baseball is going and blowing. I mean, these guys are 7-0 going into the World Series. And we come up against a team that everybody is saying the Astros have got to watch out for. They've got Bryce Harper. They've got Rhys Hoskins. They've got several guys hitting home runs, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about both offenses tonight. But what I want to do is I want to start with the familiar guys that we know, and guys like Jeremy Pena, Yordan Alvarez. And I have on here a couple things that I will put up here while we're talking. When we talk about Pena, Yordan, Bregman, and Tucker, and Altuve, I've got some WOBA stats that I pulled up from Baseball Savant, and I'll show that little graphic tonight. Something we haven't done a whole lot of showing the graphics, but for those watching, I think it'll help them to see, kind of the heat map and stuff. So let me ask you this, Suzy. What concerns do you have for the Astros hitters going into the World Series against Philadelphia?
I need Yuli to stay hot. I need the bottom of the lineup to keep on producing. And then I need Jose Altuve to lock back into the zone. I think he was getting back there that last game. He went, multi-hit game, went 2 for 4. So I think we're back there. But now with this 4-day layoff, is it gonna take him a little bit of time to get back? So fingers crossed it doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the luxury of waiting too long. When you look right here at his WOBA stats, and it's going to be kind of covering our face a little bit. Hello, we can peek out through the graphic.
Oh, I went the other way.
There you go. You can see that in the top of the middle of the zone, if you're listening, he has a 637 WOBA. And in the bottom, on the inside of the plate, he has a 698 WOBA. Those are his two hottest zones in hitting. And when he gets those high fastballs, I think it really works out well for him. When I start looking at Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola throws 33.4% four-seam fastballs, and Zach Wheeler throws 41.9% four-seam fastballs. The only thing I don't like about Nola is he's 2-0 against the Astros with 18 strikeouts, giving up no runs. If the Astros can force the ball into the zone if Altuve cannot repeat what he did in game 3 of the Mariners series, where he went 0 for 7 and swung at 18 pitches outside of the zone, I think that plays into his hands because they're primarily four-seam fastball pitchers.
Yeah, I was watching MLB Central this morning, and I think it wasn't Roflo. D-Row. It was D-Row.
Okay.
And he was showing a heat map of regular season and postseason. And it was everything outside of the strike zone on postseason. It was a little problematic, not going to lie, but it's okay. I think Altuve will get locked back in, and he will be the Altuve that we know.
Well, and this is the first postseason that he's struggled in a long time. The last time he's had anywhere near this kind of abysmal start was actually in the 2015 playoffs. He hit like 156, and that was against the Royals. That was the one game against the Yankees. He didn't hit very well, but he hit historically low. I think it's the lowest average that you've seen coming out of first 2 series of a postseason. I mean, he's hitting what, like 094 or something like that. He's, I mean, but what the good thing is, he ended with the multi-hit game.
Yes.
And I would love to see that. Now, Yordan Alvarez, okay? Yordan Alvarez, this is an interesting thing. I was looking at Yordan Alvarez's, let's throw up his WOBA stats right here, and let's look at that real quick. Oh, did I not load it up? Well, I'll load it up here in a second. I thought I had it up here. But I was looking at the fact that he hit the 2 home runs in the beginning of the ALDS, and then he didn't get one until later on, or he didn't get a hard hit ball. Actually, he only has 2 home runs, I think, in the postseason. He hit 3 balls over 100 miles an hour in games 1 and 2 of the ALDS. He only hit 1 after that, and that was game 4 against the Yankees. That was the one off of Clay Holmes. That was an RBI single, 109.3 miles an hour off the bat. So his hard hit velocity, although it was 95 plus, he did get a lot of quote unquote hard hit balls, but he didn't hit anything over 100 miles an hour off the bat after those last 2 home runs. And it seems like the pitching plan kind of worked to neutralize him. Now, overall, his postseason OPS is 888. His slugging percentage is 517, and his on-base percentage is 374. So he's batting 241 with 8 strikeouts, 4 walks, 8 RBIs. How key is it for Yordan Alvarez to get off the ground, to launch a ball, to get an RBI double? How key is it if Pena gets on base with the double? How key is it for Alvarez to drive him in and get that train rolling?
I would say if we were any other team, we would probably have to worry just a little bit more. But the fact that we won against the Mariners, we swept against the Astros without arguably our 2 hottest hitters, I won't push the panic button just yet. Will it be nice if Yordan gets off to a hot start? Yes, 1000%. Fingers crossed that happens. If it doesn't happen, though, I think somebody else further down the lineup will pick him up. I think that's the entire makeup of this team, right? We're just going to pass the baton to whoever's hot at the moment.
Right, exactly. I agree with that 100%. I think that this team is so deep that when we wrapped up the series, Eric and I, we weren't talking about, we were talking about Pena, but we weren't really talking about Alvarez, Altuve, or Tucker. Bregman came through. Bregman's still getting the doubles. Bregman's squaring up the ball. Can you imagine a healthy Justin Verlander, Lance McCullers, and Alex Bregman last year? And this is where I think a lot of people are a little recency bias or gun shy in that they're like, oh no, it's another NL East team. The NL East has our number. But logically, there is zero connection between the 3 teams. Someone's like, but they have a red logo. And I'm like, okay, now you're reaching. Now you're just trying to find well, his secretary had the same birthday as their, it's like, right. No, like this is, I get the superstitious side, but this team is built differently. This team, Martin Maldonado got a key walk that scored a run. If he doesn't score that run, we're going into extra innings.
Yep.
And so sometimes we have questions from our guests from time to time from the side. And this is a question from Sale Pete, I think. Legit question: was Luis super hot during those 5 innings because it was deep in the game in the LDS, or did that even matter? Well, we're talking about hitting tonight. I just think Luis Garcia just has the stuff. I think Luis Garcia went in with confidence. He got put in a spot. He knew that he had to do it for his guys, and he wasn't about to let them down. Luis Garcia just, I think, has it, plain and simple. But, tonight we're really not going to talk a whole lot about the pitching. But Jeremy Pena, let's focus on him. Jeremy Pena has clearly come on the scene as a budding superstar. He is one of these guys, Suzy, that took the mantle, that had a chance to take over for Carlos Correa, and never once bowed to the pressure, never once said, I'm overwhelmed. And although he went through a little bit of a lull, get this, since September 16th, he has hit 8 home runs with 20 RBIs in 23 games. I mean, he is
that good? I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not.
It's phenomenal. I mean, and this is a guy, because Carlos Correa, one of his calling cards was the playoffs, was the clutch gene that he had.
Yep.
This guy, Suzy, seems to have that clutch gene.
I think so. Obviously no one could have predicted that we would have gotten this kind of performance out of Pena, right? I mean, unless you, I guess, went down to the Dominican and watched him there. I don't know. But the fact that, I mean, he played how many games in AAA before he got hurt? And then the fact that the Astros front office was like, cool, bye, Correa. We're good. We're good with the $750,000 player. It's cool. Right. You just go. We'll be okay over here. And it's just, I don't think they had hoped that maybe they would have gotten this performance out of him. I don't think they predicted they would have gotten this performance out of him, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, right now he's hitting he has a 991 OPS, a 667 slugging percentage, 324 on base percentage, a 304 average. Or I'm sorry, a 303 average. He has 3 home runs. Now, this is what's interesting about his 3 home runs is that he's one of 5 rookies that have hit 3 home runs or more. Aaron Judge was one of them.
Okay.
Aaron Judge hit 5. Evan Longoria, I believe, hit 6. Randy Rosarina hit 10. There was a guy back in 1939 who also had 3. I mean, and I don't have that list right in front of me. I had all my notes, and then we started having technical difficulties. And here, where are my Astros notes? Here it is. Okay, there you are, notes. I feel like I'm in my classroom right now. So it was Charlie Keller. I had to give him credit. 1939, 3 home runs.
Wow.
Never heard of the guy. Aaron Judge, 4 home runs, 2017. Evan Longoria, 6 home runs, 2008. And Randy Rosarina, we remember the famous 2020 postseason where he absolutely hit the cover off the ball, and he hit 10. So Pena is up there with some nice company. But get this. Alex Bregman with the go-ahead RBI single in the 7th inning off of Clay Holmes. It was his 10th hit and 7th RBI of the postseason. It was his 43rd career postseason RBI, breaking a tie with Beltran, Jim Edmonds, Jorge Posada, Justin Turner, and Shane Victorino for 11th most all time.
Wow.
Alex Bregman's having himself a postseason. I mean, Do you remember last year when everybody's asking, what's wrong with Alex? Like, he's not hitting the ball well. And then we find out, he basically had a broken hand.
Yeah.
I mean, a fully healthy Alex Bregman, I think, is a force to be reckoned with.
Most definitely. And can I just put it out there that I'm a little salty that he was not nominated for a Gold Glove? Just ever so.
Yeah, he seems like he should be worthy, at least the top 3. I mean, maybe he doesn't win it, but at least the top 3.
Yeah, at least get nominated. I mean, I just
exactly. This guy, nobody fields from side to side. Nobody fields a ball with their bare hand. Nobody goes across their body like Alex Bregman. Harry here says, Brett, if we can get both at home, it would be safe to say the series is over. We play better on the road, it seems, than we do at home. Now, I will say something about that. Connor Thomas, the Locked On Phillies host, was talking to me yesterday. We went on with Peter Bukowski with Locked On Today, and he said the X factor for the Phillies is the home crowd. And he said if they are able to split or steal a game in Houston, he said this crowd's going to give Houston heck. I mean, they are ready. I mean, I've seen stuff on Twitter sprinkled around. We haven't gotten a chance to show our disdain for the Astros, so we're going to let them have it. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Right.
Here we go with the 2017 narrative. We're not going to shake that.
No.
Let's just be honest. We're not going to shake that until we win another World Series. Now,
let's be honest though. Even if / when we do win another World Series,
right?
You really think that it's going to stop? It may slow down a little bit,
well,
but at this point, now they're just going to hate us because we're so good. Do you know?
That's
like,
true.
It's
that's
not.
True.
I don't think it's going to stop. I really don't. Like, and the fact, I think any other team that crowd noise and that atmosphere, it may affect someone. But the fact that the Astros have played through this type of vitriol and this type of atmosphere for how many years now? I don't think it's going to phase them one bit. I think if anything, it's gonna pump them up, and light them on fire. Hopefully.
Well, I think too. I think they really need to be careful with how they want to motivate us, because if they motivate us with all the jeers and all the boos, I mean, that's when our guys really shine. I was able to find Jordan's WOBA here, and I want to show that because we were talking about it. If you look on the outside of the plate, if you're not watching, if you're listening, we're looking at his WOBA, and the batter standing on the left side of the plate. On the opposite side of the plate in the middle of the zone, he has a 646 WOBA, and then his highest is high and inside and high over the plate. So, I mean, he's not even bad down the middle low, down inside low, 471, 543. And if these guys throw breaking pitches, Nola throws a curveball 26.5% of the time. He throws a sinker third most at 18.8. Then you have Zach Wheeler, who has a slider at 26.9, and then Zach Wheeler has a sinker at 17.6. They have very similar setups and very similar numbers. Like, there's not much difference between these two pitchers. But a misstep and a miscue here or there, I think, hurts the Astros more than it hurts hurts the Phillies more than it hurts the Astros, because the Astros have the horses in the pen. And correct. I talked about that last night. The difference between this year and 19 and 21 and 17, our bullpen is just superior to those teams.
Yeah. Earlier this afternoon, Shelby and I recorded our podcast, our preview and whatnot, and she had talked about how much this Phillies team reminds her of the Braves of last year and how it made her a little bit uneasy. And I said, I get it. I can kind of see it. However, I don't trust their pitching. I mean, 1000%. They have, Nola and Wheeler, who are, let's face it, it's not 1 and 2, it's 1A and 1B.
Right.
Ranger Suarez, who has come on to be formidable now. He wasn't previously. Their fourth is probably Bailey Falter, who was hurt and just gave up all kinds of runs, didn't get out of the first inning in that Padres game. And then Noah Syndergaard, who we've seen from the Angels. Right. So I think if we can get to the pitching early, knock the starters out, get into that bullpen, and basically do what we've been doing all season, I think we'll be all right.
So here's the thing, and I want to take a minute to talk about Simply Safe, because we know that we feel safe when our pitchers are on the mound or when Jordan's at the plate. And everyone knows that athletes rise and fall in the ranks. But when it comes to saving money, Simply Safe always stays on top. And right now, you can save big with Simply Safe Home Security. They're giving our listeners, 40% off their advanced security system. Simply Safe was just named the best home security of 2022. By U.S. News. I use it. I love it. You'll love it too, because it's Simply Safe. Your safety is the only thing that matters. And with 24/7 professional monitoring, where the threat is detected, Simply Safe's monitoring professionals promptly contact you and dispatch responders to your home even if you're away and unable to respond. The 24-hour professional monitoring literally costs under $1 a day. That's less than half the cost of ADT's traditional professional installed plans. Simply Safe blankets your homes with protection, advanced sensors in every room, HC security cameras inside and out, smart ways to detect motion so that even if there's not a real threat, they let you know. So they don't call the cops just for a cat running across a camera or, something setting off the alarm that's not really a threat. They know the difference. So don't miss this chance today to save big when you protect your home with the best. Get 40% off your order when you visit simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb today. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes. That's simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb today. There's no safe like Simply Safe. And I just would say, I know Altuve was kind of in a slump. I know, well, not kind of, he is in a slump, and I think he's kind of slowly coming out of it. But one of the things that the Phillies fans are talking about is momentum. And you've got guys like Rhys Hoskins. You got guys like Bryce Harper. Let's look at Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, oh my gosh, this guy is playing with like a man with his hair on fire. Look at these WOBA numbers. And again, I'm gonna talk about it since you are listening and not watching. 630 WOBA on the lower inside part of the plate. Down the middle of the plate, 511, 564, 547. In the middle on the outside of the plate, 507. I mean, this guy is having an absolute career, and he's breaking records. And I was looking up the numbers. I was looking at the notes. He has the fourth most in Phillies postseason history. He has the most. I'm sorry. That's Rhys Hoskins. See, they got a couple of guys that are on fire. Sorry.
They've done a couple, yeah.
So Bryce Harper has 18 hits. That's most by a Philly in the postseason. He has 11 extra base hits. That's most in Philadelphia history. And he has a 10-game hit streak. Right now, his line right now, he has a 1.351 OPS.
Ooh.
He has a 419 average, 2 doubles, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 10 runs. This guy, wow. You absolutely have to stymie him. Now, when he came in the regular season against the Astros in those 2 or 3 games that we won, we had kind of neutralized him. We kind of silenced his bat a little bit. So hopefully we can keep the ball in the ballpark the first 2 games, cool him off, get him off that hit streak, because next they have Rhys, and they're calling him Rhys Lightning, almost like Grease Lightning. And he's got the 4th most, home runs in postseason history. He's got the most home runs by Philly in 2 games. He's had 3 in his last 2 games, and he's just hitting very, very well. They have Alec Baum, who can hit the ball. They've got JT Realmuto, who this guy can hit in the park home runs. They've got a lineup. He's fast. They got Gene Segura. And so I really think that this lineup is going to create a challenge where the Yankees lineup, who had 50 strikeouts in 4 games, doesn't compare. But Suzy, here's why I'm not worried, because our pitchers know how to shut good hitting down.
This is true. I have a theory that the Phillies hot bats, I'm not going to say they were only hot because they saw kind of subpar pitching, but I feel like they will not be able to tee off on Astros pitching as well as other teams. I mean, between Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, and I really honestly believe that once we get there and start playing, I think our pitchers will be able to neutralize them a lot more than other pitching staffs have.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And this is the difference between the Padres and the Astros. Now, the Padres starters, I mean, the Phillies scored a lot of their runs late. They were neutralized in the beginning. What was it? It was the Padres bullpen that let them down. And the Astros bullpen has only given up 3 runs in 30 plus innings. So this is not the same bullpen.
Correct.
This bullpen is the perfect antithesis, the perfect buzzsaw to throw at a very hot Bryce Harper. And I've had so many Phillies fans and maybe a couple Astros fans say, you're taking the Phillies too lightly. Like, no, nobody's taking them lightly. Look, we've lost more World Series than we've won. And we've seen what happens when we get home field advantage.
Right. Turn that knife just a little bit more.
Well, I think this year's different, though. And that's why I mention it, because I don't think last year or the 19 or anything else, I don't think you can do that. They're different teams. It's a different staff. Dusty Baker, I said before this whole postseason started with Eric, I said Dusty Baker is the Astros X factor. And what has he been in the?
I think I'll agree with you on that. I think the chemistry in the clubhouse and the fact that basically this entire team will run through a freaking wall for him has really been a cohesive factor for them. But it's the same thing with the Phillies, though. I mean, they fired Joe Girardi in the middle of the season. Rob Thompson came in there as interim, quote unquote, interim manager, and then basically brought them here. And you've heard the players say that Rob is amazing and they will run through a wall for him. So I think both of the managers may be the X factor here. I don't know.
Well, and there have been some stories. Someone shared with me a story. They said it was actually in Spaces. They said they remember when Bryce Harper was a young player. After games, he would actually cut up his batting gloves so people couldn't sell them.
Oh, yeah.
Sell them on eBay. And, this is a kid that literally dropped out of school his junior year to get a GED, to go to junior college so that he could be drafted, so that he could be, my dad saw him because my dad lives in Florida, and he used to go to the national spring training because it was right in his backyard, literally. And so he was like, have you heard of this Bryce Harper kid? This Bryce Harper kid, he's pretty good. And he was like, his swing is amazing. And so he really has had a trek to this point. All the promise and all the hype, he's actually living up to right now. And he's had some rough years. He's had some up years, some MVP years, and he's had some down years. He broke his thumb, like Guy mentioned earlier, like a month ago, and here he is. And he's playing with the torn UCL. So, that's why you see Kyle Schwarber out there in left field. And Kyle Schwarber was not brought on for his defensive capabilities, y'all. So, so I will give him all the props in the world for playing through that and then being hit on the thumb and playing through that. And he has earned every bit of that ridiculous contract that they got. What is it? $330 for 13? 10? Yeah, it's an insane amount. I'm losing track of all these salaries. I'm losing track of how much they're paying them. I just know that we have guys like Jordan Alvarez that we signed for a really sweet deal.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get Kyle Tucker before he really gets into free agency. We don't want him to get into free agency. Get him before. Jose Altuve's already said, I want to stay here. I think that keeps Tucker here. I think Jordan keeps Tucker here. Who knows? Maybe Brantley has talked about he wants to come back. And maybe Brantley's a guy that you platoon next year. Would it be awesome to have a healthy Michael Brantley on this team? It would be nice.
I was so sad that he went down. I was so sad. Lord have mercy. But I think just the fact that he's back in the clubhouse, and is that I don't want to say calming presence, but just that, hey, look at my swing. What am I doing? Help me with it. And just the fact that he has played for so long and is just a fountain of knowledge. Even if he doesn't come back as a player, I don't know, sign him as a coach or player development or something, anything to do with bringing him back and giving all of the advice to the quote unquote young kids.
Exactly. I think that's key. Now, Bobby, I'm going to put your question up here, but I don't know that I can answer this intelligibly. Who do y'all feel is better, the Braves 2021 bullpen or the Phillies 2022 bullpen? I just remember what the Braves did to us last year. So I'm going to default to the Braves. But here's the deal. If you're talking bullpen to bullpen, okay, in the postseason, when I look at the Astros bullpen lineup, I see zeros everywhere. 0, 0, 0, like 0 ERA, 0 runs. And in the Phillies, Jose Alvarado, 2022, he does have 3 saves, but he's given up 3 runs in 7 innings pitched. Andrew Belatti, a 2.25 ERA, 1 earned run in 4 innings. Then you have Connor Brogdon, 2 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he has 1 save, 2 holds, 6.2 innings pitched. He has not given up a run, so he's their shutdown guy. Zach Eflin, he has a hold and a save, but it's 4 earned runs and 6.1 innings pitched. So, like, I know that, you've got other guys in your Brad Hand. He's actually 2-0 with a 7.36 ERA with 3 earned runs.
Did you say Corey Knebel?
Corey Knebel. I do not see. No, I said Brad Hand.
Yeah, Corey Knebel's on there too.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually looking down their roster, and he's not even listed from their bullpen notes.
Oh.
I have Gibson, Robertson. You have David Robertson, 1 hold, 2.7 ERA, 1 earned run, and 3.1 innings pitched. This is my point. I'm not saying the Phillies bullpen is terrible or bad, but I'm saying the Astros bullpen is better.
1,000%.
And if there is a bullpen that can stop a Bryce Harper, that can stop a Kyle Schwarber, that can stop a Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Gene Segura, I mean, just name a player on their team, it is the Houston Astros bullpen. And no offense to the Padres, their bullpen isn't the same. Here's the key. The Astros hitters have got to get the starting pitchers out of the game 2 to 3 innings before the 8th inning. They got to get them out by the 5th or the 4th. If they can do that, if they can up the pitch count, if they can shrink the zone, force the pitcher out of the zone, up that pitch count to where you don't want that guy getting 80, 90 pitches before he gets to 5 innings. I want to see a 20 or 30 pitch first inning from the Phillies pitchers. I want to see a lot of pitches. I want to be like, golly, he's already at 62 pitches in the, top of the third, or in the bottom of the 3rd inning, he's already at 60 pitches. I want to see that. And that is what they're going to have to do, because if you wait till the 8th inning, that back end of Philly is really, really strong.
Yeah, I think innings 4 through 7 is where the game will be make or break. Made or break? What's the correct?
It will be
the 4th through the 7th are the important ones, okay? The important ones, y'all.
I love it.
There we go.
It's okay.
I think that's where the most, because I don't think they have a bunch of long guys. I want to say, when I was looking it up earlier, I think it was just Sir Anthony Dominguez, and there was one other one. Was it Brogdon or Bellotti?
Yeah, Brogdon.
Are those the 2 long guys that they have?
So Dominguez has pitched 6.2 innings. Brogdon's pitched 4.2, and I'm looking. Brad Hand has pitched 3. And so, Phillies listeners, it's so funny. I said something about Zach Wheeler, about Aaron Nola being the ace and Zach Wheeler. And someone was like, well, tell me you don't watch Phillies baseball without telling me you don't watch Phillies baseball. And I'm like, well, sorry, I don't watch Phillies baseball. I try to know as much as I can. But yeah, it looks like those are their long inning guys. I mean, look, if you can bring Sir Anthony Dominguez earlier rather than later, I'm all for that. Do it. Jay Roberts wants to know. Jay Roberts he's a personal friend. He's a friend of the show. He says, Brett, Suzy, and Eric, are you going to the games Friday or Saturday? I know for me, I'm going to go to a watch party. I'm going to be somewhere. Now I hear there's rain in the forecast, so that may change my plans where I end up, but I am not going Friday or Saturday. I do have tickets to a game, and it's not until they come back into town. If it's necessary, Eric probably will not be, since he's been on the IL, literally, he probably will not go to any of those first 2 games. I have not heard that he's going. Suzy, what about you? You have any plans to be there?
Unless I get some sort of benefactor that is going to gift me tickets, that is a no for me.
They're expensive. They are so expensive. I was very fortunate to be offered Game 6 tickets at a very reasonable price, and so I went ahead and took it, because I really hope that that's when they come back, and I hope they wrap things up. I just think the Phillies are going to make this, and I don't want to do any predictions or picks right now tonight, but give me one thing that has to happen offensively for the Houston Astros to stay on top of the Phillies. One thing, just like What is one key
I'll
thing?
give you three things. I'll give you three
Okay,
things.
go. Okay.
Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker.
Okay.
I need those three. I need their bats to wake up. And I need the bottom of the lineup to keep producing like they are. And really, like when you look at the Astros lineup, when you circle the guys that you need to be quote unquote fearful of or careful of or whatnot, you're basically looking at 1 through 5, right? Like with the year that Yuli has had, no one is really circling him. Now with his plate appearances in the postseason, now people may be circling him, but everyone's looking at Chaz like, who the heck is Chaz McCormick? Like, where did he come from? What? No, that's not who we're going to circle. We're not going to circle Martin Maldonado. So bottom of the lineup can stay hot. Those 3 bats warm up. I think it'll be over. I don't know what will. Maybe the world will just implode on itself if those 3 bats wake up and the bottom of the lineup starts producing.
There's going to be so much anger in the United States, baseball fans, if the Houston Astros win in 2022, because I think everybody outside of maybe Texas, Louisiana, and then our fans that are transplants in other states, get this. We found out the other day, we got people from Tokyo that listen. We have people from Australia that listen.
That's awesome.
We got people from Mexico, from I believe Singapore. I mean, literally got a global audience, and just so humbled to hear that. The Dominican, I know, we have people from Puerto Rico that listen. So thank y'all so much for supporting our show. For me, I think offensively, I need Jose Altuve to get on base. I don't care if he walks. I don't care if he bunts. I don't care if he hits. I don't necessarily need him to hit home runs, but I need him to get on base. I need Jeremy Pena to then send him to third with the single. And then I need Yordan Alvarez to go deep. So I need the top 3 guys to get things going in the first 2 games. And whether they do it in the first inning or the third or the fourth inning, in the first 4 innings, I need those 3 guys to have some sort of contribution, because if they do that, it puts all the pressure on the pitcher. It forces the pitcher to make pitches he doesn't want to. And then those mistakes turn into big plays for Chaz McCormick, for even Martin Maldonado. And I think Martin's going to go deep. It's going to be in game 1 or 2, just because we've got the short porch. And we have got to create momentum now, because I'm telling you, momentum does not go from series to series. It starts in game 1 and it builds. And so, I need to put a
tiny addendum just real quick on Jose Altuve. Yes, 1,000% Jose Altuve needs to get on base, but then Jose Altuve needs to be a smart base runner.
I knew you were going to say that. I the second before you said base runner, I thought, and I joked. I was like, can we send Jose Altuve to one of those base running camps before the World Series?
But like the Little League baseball, like I have the athletic ability of a gnat, so I have no room to judge or whatnot. But some of the base running errors, I love him so much, and I just kind of want to shake his tiny little self. Just
Suzy wants violence. She's like, listen to me, Jose. She wants to sit Jose down and talk to him.
I need to do the Jose chant, and then serenade him with some base running tips. That's what needs to happen.
Sweet. Someone says Suzy isn't wrong, LOL. And then we got someone that says, watching from London, UK, 3 a.m. I never miss a show. Wow. That is cool.
Dedication.
That is dedication from the other side of the pond. I'm not even going to patronize you with a terrible English accent, but thank you so much for listening to us. And, Suzy, thank you for coming on. This was great. When we first came on, I thought Restream was acting up. We were going to have issues, and everything worked out fine. Eric came in, just to let you know, give Eric some credit. He's not feeling well. He came in to the studio and kind of helped us make sure we had everything worked out. Boom. So Eric is he's not here, but he's here, guys. He's here in spirit. Suzy, tell everybody where they can find you so they can go listen to y'all's podcast and support you guys as well.
Well, again, I really appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to come on here. So our podcast is called Bourbon and Baseball. We sometimes drink bourbon. We sometimes just drink plain alcohol. Who knows? But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all at Bourbon and Baseball. You can find our Twitter, Bourbon in the letter N, B-ball. And then Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram and Facebook is Bourbon and Baseball Pod. So Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the
look at that.
compliments. I'm like,
Look at that.
"Stop it some more, right? No.
You are getting all kinds of run here, and that's great. That's really cool. Yeah, someone said this podcast is as bad as Astros pitching. Well, actually, if we're as bad as the Astros pitching,
Right,
the
then we
Astros
are
pitching
really,
is
really
actually
good.
pretty amazing. Then we're knocking out of the park. Thank you,
Right.
Glenn. See, that's how we deal with negativity around here. Always positive, always Stros. And so for myself, for Eric Huysman, for everyone at Locked On Nation and the Locked On Network, we thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night, 7:30. We're going to have Roflo, Robert Flores from MLB Network, is going to come hang out with us again and talk about the Houston Astros, because we all know he's an Astros fan and he's an Htown guy. So thank you again for joining us. And as always, bear me in the H, go Stros.